that question, Reza. History was never my favorite subject in school. Am I right? It always puts you to sleep. But TIE has a very interesting story which I would love to share. So TIE came into existence. The full form of TIE is the Indus entrepreneur. You know, all of us have somewhere origin in the Indus Valley, especially if you're from Persia and you're from India. So when it came that in the US around 1992, it was the first phase when people from the subcontinent, South Asian subcontinent or Middle East were able to take their companies go public. Am I right? It was early 90s, they came to US in the 80s, and their companies were now going public, and some of them became really, really successful. They had multi-billion-dollar exits. At the end of the journey, they realized the journey was very, very lonely for them. And unlike their peers who were born in the US, they had a network to go and speak with, take the guidance. But most of these immigrant entrepreneurs did not have that leverage that they can go and say, hey, I'm putting my company on the New York Stock Exchange. What should I do? What's the right timelines? So TIE came out of that, which stands for the Indus entrepreneurs. The idea is there was a community of entrepreneurs who have been successful in their businesses, not just taking their companies public, at any stage. And they had experiences which they can share with other budding entrepreneurs to even make their life easier. That's what TIE came into existence for. 1992, fast forward, I think so the vision for TIE was great. TIE has done well, just in terms of number. Today, TIE stands with 61 chapters with footprint in 14 countries. Some of the biggest chapters are in the US. We have chapter nearly everywhere in the US. We have 5 in California itself. The mothership always been TIE's Silicon Valley. We have in Tampa Bay, New York, Boston, New Jersey, Seattle, you name it, it's there. But right now, some of the very strong chapters are in Middle East, India, Indonesia, Singapore. So we have a massive footprint in terms of number of chapters. So if you are hearing about TIE and you want to be the part of this massive global community, actually it's the world's biggest non-for-profit when it comes to fostering entrepreneurship. Now let's look at the numbers till now. TIE members have up till now, for I would say, mentored over 25,000 businesses and startups across the world. The number of investments made by TIE members cumulatively is over 70 billion US dollars, and which has led to a creation of wealth over $1 trillion with 125,000 jobs created, and that has been the global impact of that. So that's the story, which is not that boring, and the best part is you can become the part of the story by simply joining TIE today.
Beautiful, spectacular story for sure. So speaking of fostering entrepreneurship, TIE has a strong emphasis on core values.
Yeah.
And how these core values like fostering entrepreneurship is translated into daily programs in TIE.
Sure. So as I said, TIE came from the journey of people who were entrepreneurs and they wanted to give back to the community. And the idea was to foster entrepreneurship. So TIE usually works on 5 core values. Those are mentoring, education, access to capital, networking, incubation, acceleration. So every chapter based on these core values are open to start their programs which they think is right to foster entrepreneurship at the local level. So totally a global approach. You think global, but you can actually adapt your program to the local community. So most of the US chapters, for example, what they have done is, because all of them have been with TIE for many years, every chapter has its own angel investor group or VC group. I just came back from TIE Boston's conference. The TIE members, who are part of the various venture capital group, were actually representing over $960 million available for investments. So that was the cumulative wealth of all the VCs which are part of TIE Boston, for example. So most of the US chapters have their incubation they have their angel investor group, their VC group. Most of the Indian chapters have acceleration program. They also have an angel investor groups. So it's cumulative. Based on these values, these VC groups and angel investor group then help the entrepreneurs foster entrepreneurship, and that could be way of incubation, conferences. So we have a global incubation program called Nurture. Okay? Now there is a guideline for every Thai chapter what nurture should be, but we can adapt how we want nurture to play out. In Canada, it will be a different need for somebody in Silicon Valley, it will be totally different need for somebody in Dubai, which is a very upcoming startup ecosystem. So with these core values, you're open to have your program as long as you're providing these founders network, you're providing them mentorship, education, access to capital. That's how it works.
Beautiful. Honestly, I personally like the beauty of TIE in terms of exposing the startups into international markets rather than focusing on Canadian ecosystem. That's the beauty of TIE. I'm totally distracted. So, can you please walk us through the 5 pillars of TIE Toronto incubation program and how these 5 pillars enable entrepreneurs to succeed, be prosperous, and then scale in an efficient way?
Definitely. So again, I said, there is no one program that fits the need of all the entrepreneurs. Am I right? Everybody has different need depending on which stage your company is, who you are, where you come from, how you look and how you talk. Everything changes. Knowing that Toronto is such a diverse community, we have massive immigrant population, we also have a very, I would say, evolving startup ecosystem in our universities and colleges. So TIE Toronto considered the need of the local community, so we have 5 programs running around. The first is TIE Quest, which actually opens its application in October, which is primarily focused on Canadian companies which are early stage and have raised less than $2 million. It's a 16-week acceleration program, making sure we get them the right product market fit. What are the benefits of joining this program? Well, it's amazing. We have over $100,000 in cash prize, and it's non-equity based cash prize. We also give at the end of the program $200,000 in services. Plus, the companies which win with us, we take them to Silicon Valley, Boston, and to our global conference, which can happen in any part of the world. So that's for early stage Canadian startups. Then under the Startup Visa program, we have a separate program called Scale Up. Scale Up focuses on immigrant entrepreneurs because their needs are a bit different from the Canadian entrepreneurs once we want to make sure that they get into the Canadian market right, they're able to sustain themselves and they're able to grow themselves. Most of them are very successful entrepreneurs in their home country, but helping them establish themselves in Canada is a different ballgame. So Scale Up focuses on that. Then we have a program called TIE Women. TIE Women is a part of the TIE Global program, and here women entrepreneurs, women founders, startups are focused. Every chapter, 61 chapters have their own program. The winners from each program then go to at a global level to compete. So imagine last time when we were in Singapore for the TIE Women Finals, we had women representing for 61 countries with diverse experience and background, and you can see the power of this community coming together. Then we also have a program called TIE University, which is focusing that, if you've seen in the education sector, when we were growing up, I am considering most of us I'm not 16 anymore, so most of the people in this room are in the same age group. When we were growing up, entrepreneurship was not the focus if you're doing MBA or law in your school. But now, every law school or any MBA school you go to, they have an entrepreneurship. If you're doing engineering also, so they're fostering entrepreneurship at the education level. They are making sure people are ready to hit the ground when they're leaving their schools, or their universities and colleges for that matter. So TIE University program focuses on taking the best talent for Toronto universities, which is UFT, Waterloo and all, and then taking them to the global level. Actually, you should look up, our last year winner is Abdil. He's a Sudanese founder who's been in Canada for a very long time. His company is Kiwi Charge. He's democratizing the process of charging for like your electric vehicles, especially in bigger infrastructures. If there is a building cannot have charger for everybody. So he was able to go with us to Silicon Valley. He competed among 165 companies and he came second runner. So that's how we put Toronto entrepreneurs on the global map. That's what TIE stands for. And we also have a TIE Young Entrepreneur program, which is actually looking at schools. Children who want to actually show what they have entrepreneurial bent of mind, they have any startup, nurturing them even a step before they go to the college. So these are the programs that we run at TIE. If you're interested, before you test how TIE is, we have another open mic night. It's every second Wednesday of the month. It's very easy to remember, Every second Wednesday of the month, you will find us at 1:11. Open mic night is not a pitch competition. It is not a pitching evening. I think so in Toronto, you pick up every second places people are pitching their business. It's storytelling. Many times, you have a founder. They tell you about their company, but you can only relate with that founder once you understand who they are, what their story is. Am I right? Somewhere, some of us are immigrants in this country, and our story is pretty similar, and we understand all the struggles that we go through. Similarly, every founder has a struggle they have gone through. So the open mic night is the evening where everybody comes. We have a very seasoned entrepreneur who will share their story, what they have done right, what they have done wrong, and then some budding entrepreneurs share their story. It's all about telling your story, and we have started this program last year. There is not a single Wednesday when I come home and I'm not inspired by someone's story, how they started, where they started, and what led to their success or the lessons they have learned along the way. So please come and join us. It's always second Wednesday of the month at 1:11, which is 325 Front Street. If you don't know about 1:11, it's the Ontario Government's Acceleration Center in downtown Toronto. Every second big company in Ontario is being accelerated there at 1:11.
Yeah, I was about to ask what is unique about TIE, but when you mentioned about open mic, and I attended open mic.
Oh yeah, you were there last time.
And I was expecting pieces, like what is the solution, what is the problem, what is the go-to-market strategy, what is the exit strategy. But I hear touching stories, and that's the beauty of open mic sessions. So I'm gonna skip the uniqueness, and let's change the gears a little bit.
Actually, you should ask the uniqueness.
Okay, what is unique about TIE, and what differentiates TIE from other incubation or accelerators?
So, Toronto has so many incubators and accelerators, and they're all doing amazing jobs. Everybody has their own niche. You guys have your own niche right now, helping Persian entrepreneurs who are coming up there. And most of these incubators, accelerators have set programs. They know their target market, and they're doing really well. But if you go to Collision, you go to Elevate, you go to Startup Fest, you see all the same faces all the time. Even we have heard that from the founders, the community is small. What TIE makes the difference is, we don't want to just reach on what every other incubator is doing. You all are doing a great job, no doubts about that. We want to pick up the best of your clients, best of your companies, and give them that global exposure, because we are 61 chapters around 14 countries with VCs, with angels, with people who have run their businesses. That's the value of TIE. Our idea is to pick a Canadian company. As you said before, Canada is a very small market. What, we are 37, 40 million people? Our total economy is less than the turnover of Apple and Microsoft. So you can see we are a very smaller economy, and any entrepreneur who wants to grow their business, they have to look beyond Canada if they're looking for a global company. So our goal at TIE is to make sure we want to take good Canadian entrepreneurs who are doing well, who have been really validated and tested by the local incubators and accelerators here, take them global, give them that access to capital. Give them that network which they can tap onto and build something for them. That's what we do at TIE, and that's what makes us different from others. So we are not competing with others, we are complementing others, and that's what TIE Spirit is all about.
Nice. Let's change the gears a little bit and tap into your wisdom and knowledge. In your opinion, what are the what are the key indicators and signs that the company is ready to scale? And how can TIE help the entrepreneurs and startups to go through this scaling up journey?
Before I answer that question, Reza, you know I'm trained as a lawyer.
Oh really?
Yeah, I did corporate commercial litigation on Bay Street. So good thing is you asked me for my wisdom and I'm not charging you. So I'll send the bill if it goes really long. If you test me too much, I still bill.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so as I said, TIE has so many programs that we run, and we get to see the companies at the entire spectrum and the stage of their growth. We have early stage startups where the founders are just starting. We have startups which are accelerating. Some of the businesses we have talked to who want to go and list themselves on New York Stock Exchange. So we have the entire spectrum. I didn't do an MBA, I did a law school. So they didn't teach me all these things in the law school. So whatever I have learned is hard, hands-on experiences working with these startups. And I think I do an MBA each year now, when I learn so much from these entrepreneurs. One thing I have learned from working with these entrepreneurs over the years, scaling up is not rapid expansion. If you think scaling your business means you're going to rapidly increase everything, that's a disaster. and it's making. For me, how I define scaling up is you are ready to grow your business, but to grow, you have first the right foundation. You know your core value. You know the vision that you want to implement. Third, you have the right team. When you grow the business, the stresses which are going to come, you know your team is going to manage that. And the foremost is you know your customers. And whatever you do, you know how to focus how to focus on their needs, how to get their feedback and evolve and adapt based on their feedback. If you have these 4 core things ready, and you based on this you're ready for expansion, that is scalability for me. Otherwise, it's nothing. You're going to be having a disaster. Another thing which I have learned over the years for working with various startups, some of them have done amazing and some of them have been a disaster, but that's the story of every incubator accelerator. You need people and you need business, which is adaptable and resilient to ever-changing market dynamics. If you don't have this, they are not ready for scale up. So this is the definition. So other part of your question was, how do we identify them? There is no one fixed formula that you can identify somebody's ready for scale up. Am I right? There are founders who come who have just an idea, don't even have a proof of concept, and they say my company is 3.5 million in valuation and I'm ready. Give me 4 million and I'm ready to take it to the next level. So there is no fixed formula whether you're ready for scale up, but there are couple of pointers you can look at. If you're a founder yourself, if somebody asks you, or if you're a part of the ecosystem, you're running an incubator accelerator center, what you should be looking at. My experience says my first criteria is market validation. Sounds like a buzzword, am I right? I'm not going to define it. It's very simple. When you see that there is a company, there is a founder who has a product which has demonstrated that there is a consistent demand for that product and it actually fits the need of its target users, there is a market validation. Now if you'll ask me, how do I find these? These all sound fancy words. How do I find these things? Very easy. If you ever come across a startup, you're seeing that they have recurrent users. They are liking the product, they are not leaving the product, and they are at the same time, they are growing their sales and they are adding more users, there is a market validation. But also, one thing people have an oversight on growing sales is, you also have to see, are they evolving their product? Because one day when you start launching a product and you understand the need of your customers, they give you feedback, you need to also have the capability that you're evolving, you're improving, you're adapting what you're making to the need of the customer, so you know you will not be obsolete in the period of time. So as long as you can see these 4 factors, they have users, they are growing their users, they have sales, and they're evolving, I think so that's the right market validity. I'll give you an example. MedTech companies are always very difficult. SaaS company can give you revenue like this. A MedTech company, by the time they get FDA approvals, whatever you do, is a long gestational period. But what I have seen and what I've learned from much more experienced people whom I work with is that if a MedTech company is running some pilots, so we had a company, they are doing remote monitoring of chronic diseases. And all these pilot programs, when we analyze the data from these pilot programs, it was very clearly indicated to us, patients are having better outcomes with this thing. There is a consistent demand. They started one pilot, it led to another pilot, and there's 6 pilots going on at this time. And the feedback coming from the healthcare providers was, yes, this monitoring is working. So they had all the 3 elements: demonstrated need, their product works with the target market, more health providers want to see that. I think so that our company is ready to scale up. They should be able to raise money which takes them beyond pilots at this time, okay? Second most important thing for me is a solid business model. There are many times a founder would come to you and say, hey, I'm ready to scale up. This is my number. I am making like $100,000. I know in the next 6 months, I'm going to raise it to 1 million. Another 6 months, you're going to say, I'm going to touch 1.5 million. I am ready to scale. Solid business model. The revenue is there, but that's not the clear picture for any one of us. When I say solid business model, I want to see a direct path to profitability. Because it's obvious that when you're going to grow your business, your revenue is going to increase, but your burn rate is also going to increase. Am I right? So are you scaling up at a speed that where your revenue increases, your cost of operation is increases, where is your profit margin? As long as your profit margin is not clear to me, that yes, when you grow, your revenues grow, and you will have the profit margin which can actually sustain your growth, you are not ready for your scalability. If your investors here or anybody has a SaaS company and you are trying to raise funds, just keep that in mind. Don't go and talk about your subscriptions. People just say, hey, I have this, I'm gonna get 600 other subscribers, my revenue is gonna go that. Also talk about your acquisition cost. What you need to show them is your customer acquisition models are not gonna proportionally increase that much as your subscriptions are increasing. You will maintain your acquisition cost per customer while increasing your revenue, so you have a profit margin to sustain.
That's right.
Okay, so make sure you have a solid business model, and business model is, where is your profitability? The last and the very important factor I have seen when the scalability come is, anybody of you bets on horses or heard about horse betting? When you bet on a horse, you just don't bet on the horse, how good the horse is, we bet on the jockey. How good the person managing the horses, am I right? Yeah, that doesn't mean that you'll find me on the race course, but that's just a simile. I haven't lost a lot of money on horses yet, maybe one day. So, similarly, what you need to see is brilliant product, brilliant growth strategy, amazing business model, but who are the founders? Who is the person behind? That's very important. And in the scalability, what you need to see is that you have a team which has the capability, resilience, and adaptability, that they can take the stresses that comes with scalability. They have the operational efficiency that is required with scalability, and they can work together. So that's the team. It's very important. Because scalability is not that, oh, I have a vision to grow. It's not just the vision. You need to have a plan. You need to have an operational execution of the same. Plus, you need to get more people to help you to grow. And to make that happen, you need to have the right team. So as long as you have these particular factors which are clear, I think so by easily you can say, hey, I think so this company is ready to scale.
Nice. So, and I learned something new, and correct me if I'm right. So scaling is not necessarily, doesn't necessarily have a positive connotation. It can be disastrous scaling, or let's say cancerous scaling. So how can we get into, because I used to be a family physician.
Yes.
Yeah,
I can
scaling is the worst time ever. Yes.
So what is the best approach in terms of having a sustainable growth strategy in your mind?
I think the most important thing for the sustainable growth strategy is, if I have to tell something in one go, make sure you have the right team, you have the money, and you have vision, and you know your target customers. If all these 4 factors are well taken care of, and you can figure out how it is done, and you don't do the disasters, that's how it's going to be sustainable. So I should reframe your questions and see, when it comes to, as I said, scalability could be a disaster. So for me, scalability is very synonymous to challenge. Has anyone ever played video games in their life? Yeah, if I was actually looking at 16 years old, everybody would have raised this hand. But let's see, how many of you have played video games? Or any sports? Am I right? We all have. It's scalability, the easiest way to define is, in video game you play one level, you beat all the challenges, you reach the next level, and the set of obstacles. That's exactly how you're going to scale your business. It's not that you will have any stage or scaling or sustaining your business will not be challenges. As long as you can overcome those challenges, that's what's going to make it different. So let me just talk about some challenges, and then we can talk about the strategies, how it can be sustainable. So the few challenges, again, which I have learned over the years, which founders might oversee, and if you're talking to someone who's trying to grow their business, first thing is talk about how will they make sure that their product market fit sustains while they're growing the business. What I'm trying to see in easy terms is, how I understand in easy terms is, that when you're growing your product or you're taking your product to the next level, it still remains relevant to the people for whom you made the product. Okay? Or it is relevant to the increased number of people that you are going to target now. Again, I'll give you an example here. We had a SaaS company in our acceleration program. They had a very niche software which had been made for one particular industry. There was massive demand, they were doing very well, so they were pretty confident, because every time they asked for a customer feedback, it was positive. They thought they're adapting their product to the needs, and they said, okay, we are happy, we're ready to go, we're going to target much bigger target market right now. But the moment they went beyond that niche industry or those niche users, there was no wider appeal for their product. So, usually when the founders are a racehorse and they're really going well, and one stumble block comes, they lose everything. So that is the time when mentorship comes into play. So we made them sit and we helped them understand, you have uniqueness, you have innovation, you have an edge, but you also need to understand that beyond that niche market, you are a wider market that you're targeting. Don't lose what you have, add some feature sets, add some other elements in your software which will cater to the needs of this broader market. Founders got the message, they went back, came up with a couple of, they researched the market, they realized that beyond their niche market, they can attract the other people by adding some of the features. And that's what happened, they added that and they were able to move to a bigger market. So it's very important throughout your process, if you're increasing your reach or if you're growing your market, make sure your product remains relevant. So if you are doing that, you'll be able to sustain yourself. That's a strategy. Second important thing is your processes and your operations. It's very simple. We all have a routine in our house. We know how to cook in the morning, do the things, run. I add 2 visitors in your house. Everything goes haywire. You don't know how to manage the visitor needs. Well, I always have omelette in my breakfast, but now I have to make omelette and bread for the visitor because they want carbs. Similarly, what happens is you might have operations and processes which has worked really well at a small scale level. As you expand, the flaws on those processes comes out very clearly in your face. Systems which have worked really well for your founder over the years when they were establishing businesses, they absolutely start crumbling as you scale. So it's very important that when you're scaling and if you have mentors who have subject matter expertise, they know about the market, take a time, ask them. This is the way I do the work. These are the processes which are working for me. If I scale up, what problems can come? I'll give you an example of an e-commerce end company we were working with. Great model, they had a niche market, they have limited products, they know where the supply chain is coming, where the warehouse was, how it was to be delivered by logistics, worked really well. Suddenly they said, we will add 25 more products because our users are sustainable, we know what they need is, and we will increase the geographical area where we're going to deliver. Deliveries were not on time. Products the suppliers they thought will send were not sending the stuff on time. So the system which was working at a smaller scale totally crumbled. So again, what we did, sat with them during our acceleration program and said, hey, you had this 10, instead of making it 35, look for another 5 which you can manage. Where you will have the scalability, the people will send you the product, use them, and you can manage the logistics. So make sure wherever you go, whatever you do, you have processes which can back up your growth plan. And that's true for anyone of us. Am I right? Not just for a startup founder, anyone that we need those processes. Okay? And if you have those processes, again, you will be able to sustain. That's the fact. Now, another thing is that I have realized is team dynamics is very, very important when it comes to scalability. Because scalability does not mean that I am just growing my business. Scalability also means I would need more people to work for me. So what happens is when I'm a startup founder, I have 4 or 5 friends with which I started doing the work. We have been through everything in life. Our babies were born together. Our wives know each other. We have been to thick and thin. We are having dinner at one place and we have worked with them. There is a cohesion. Am I right? Now if I tell them in that cohesion, add 2 more people and start working. No, Reza, it's a disaster many times. They just can't do it. So very important is that when you are looking at scalability, look at, are you ready to add more people? Are you ready to delegate? Because half of the time we are control freaks. Am I right? We don't want to delegate anyone because we know we are going to do it the best. So you have to have a team that they're ready to delegate, they're ready to teach other people, and they can trust other people they are bringing in the team that they are ready. I still remember an example. We had a fintech company, amazing founders with banking experience. Company had great revenues. They were doing really, really well. So now they know that they need to get some of the regulatory approvals. So they need to get in people who can help with those approvals because they were looking into cross-border financial transaction. And they got 3 people in, smart founders. 6 months later, we were doing the follow-up and we could see there was absolute tension in the room. And when the meeting unfolded, half of the time the communications were not going to the new team members. They couldn't interpret what the person was saying, and there was a clear communication disaster because founders had a certain way of working, informal text message overnight because they've been friends, they've been working together. But when these new people came, they couldn't figure out how to communicate properly. There was misinterpretation, and that was causing a disaster. Again, at that time we got someone from our team who had experience in building up teams for scaling up companies. We got that help, and they were able to build a team. So team dynamics is very important. If you have the right team which has the vision with you, you'll be able to sustain your growth.
Beautiful, thank you.
And the 2 more points, because I'll cover your next question. Because this is important, I think so. Another point I've seen is very important in scalability is money. Can any business grow without money? No. That's why we have angel investors here. We have some VCs in the room because everybody needs money. But scaling up does not just mean that I need money to grow. That's a very narrow approach. It's very important as a founder, as an investor. You should know who is giving me the money, what strings are attached to that money, what they want me to do. Do they understand my vision, what I want to do? Are they here for me in the long run? They're going to stay with me, or they just want a short exit, and if I'm not going to survive that, they're not going to stay. So it's very important is where the money is coming from, what strings are attached, and who is going to give me the money. This is a very typical problem. Anybody in clean tech here? Everybody talks about clean tech, impact startups. Many people talk about it, but these startups take the longest time to get you back the money. And I've seen the clean tech founders have the biggest problem. They go in a room, everybody is really impressed, they're ready to give their money, but when they look at the ROI, when they're going to get the money back, the investors start saying, no, I think so you need to pivot. No, I think so this regulatory compliance is going to take 10 years to come, change it. And that's when the founders start losing their steam because now the investor wants to control their money. They don't have a vision what this impact startup or this clean tech startup wants to do. So very important we do with them is we ask them, do your research on your investor, who your investor is. Can they actually see your vision? Sometimes just the dollar amount is not important. You need people who can understand your vision, get you help reach your goals, get you the strategy, bring you the network that you need to reach your goal. And the last thing which is very important when it comes to scaling up is, anybody has ever seen a car race? Is it all about speed in the car race? There's a lot of other strategies, because if we're just going to focus on speed, I'm sure we're going to have a rollover. Scaling up is very similar. Scaling up is absolutely a balancing act of speeding your expansion versus having the strategy which will help you sustain. If you can match the two, you're ready for sustaining your business and you're ready to scale.
Thank you so much for your time.
Is it thank you because the answer was very long, or finally you got something out of
I'm
it?
still thinking about parts of your strategies, because I'm still thinking about this concept. Product market fit is a dynamic thing.
Yeah.
It's not, because we have the tendency to think that it is something static. Product market fit, bingo, let's go to the next step. But it's not like that. It is something dynamic. It's gonna change. I'm still thinking about that.
Unless you're Apple, you can add 2 cameras on iPhone, people will still buy it, but you can see all the Androids, how much evolution they have done in their product. Am I right? And every time a new release comes in, Apple will say, oh, they haven't done anything.
Yeah.
So even Apple is being now said, hey, evolve. So if those trillion-dollar companies are requiring that, evolve, meet the customer needs and all that, how do you think it's not going to impact small founders or startup founders like that? That's the key.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.